Hi everybody, today we're going to be doing our notes on function notation and intercepts. So we've already talked about domain and range and what a function is. We're going to talk about how it really applies to algebra. Because a lot of our functions are going to be linear or quadratic. A linear function is just one that makes a straight line. So, and a quadratic makes a curve. So with functions, a lot of that stuff we have an equation that kind of gives us our input output to find the points to make that stuff. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Okay? So let's go ahead and get started. So it looks exactly like your notes. So we're going to start off with our function notation, and we're going to do our vocab. So the independent variable is a variable that provides input values for a function. Okay? A function, like I said, it's only a rule that happens. It's not, especially a linear or quadratic, it follows a rule. That's why it makes those shapes. So when you see a function, a lot of times it's a picture that we make from an equation where we get the points, or we put numbers in, those input values into a function and get something out. So the variable that provides the input values of a function for your x values is your independent variable, and the variable that provides the output values of a function is your y value, or your y values is your dependent variable. So this is the stuff we get out depending on whatever we put into the equation. This is what it would be equal to. Okay? So now let's use function notation, but wait, what is function notation? This is function notation. Okay? You're going to see this a lot. What this is just saying what it reads as. It reads f of x. So the function, f stands for function. The function of x, the function of whatever, like whenever you put this x value into this function, okay? F of x. And the f of x really just means your y value, okay? Your output. That's all it's telling you. What is the output when you put this input into this function? Okay? So you'll see the y and the f of x interchanged a lot throughout algebra. Okay? They both mean the same thing though. So let's look at an example. Make a table for each function. Identify the range of each function. Okay, so here's what they gave us. They gave us the equation and they gave us the domain. So hopefully you remember the domain is your x values. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and make a table. I made one like this. I'm going to put 3 parts in here because the middle part's going to be my work. Okay? I have the x values, which are 0, 1, 2, and 3. And I'm trying to find the y values. They're asking what is the range, so I need the y values. In order to find that, I'm going to use this equation. I get the y values when I do 5 times whatever the x values are. Okay? So I just go ahead and do that. 5 times 0 gives me 0. 5 times 1 gives me 1. Or 5, I'm sorry, gives me 5. 5 times 2 gives me 10. 5 times 3 gives me 15. So this is my range. Okay? Now, I'm not going to leave it like this because this is just the work. My range is written like this. The set of 0, 5, 10, and 15. That's all it is. It's just plugging in something and working it out. Also known as plug and chug in my vocabulary. So, that's all it is. So now you're going to try one on your own. Whoop, sorry. I would need 15 minutes. I'm going to try one on, you guys are going to try one on your own. You have to make a table for this function, identify the range, and the domain, and identify the range. So here is your equation. Here is your domain. So you're going to make your table, and you're going to work it out and find what your y values are, and then tell me what the range is. Okay? So go ahead and put the video on pause. When you come back, I'll have an answer so you can check it. Okay. So, welcome back. You had to find the range using this equation and these x values, or the domain. And the range that you should have gotten would be negative 25, negative 20, negative 13, negative 9. And yes, that is the order it should be in. It's exactly how it should be written out. Because remember, range and domain need to be written in order from least to greatest. No repeats and embraces. Okay? And remember, that's going to be on your quiz next class. Alright. Okay, yep, sorry. Got a little distracted. So, next one. Use the table to find the range, then plot the points on the graph. So again, we're doing the same thing. Okay, I'm not going to make my table's already made, so now they're using f of x. Okay, f of x, like I said, is the same thing as the y. Okay, so that's why it's here. I'm going to plug in this x value into this equation, and I'm going to get the y value out, which I'm just going to put under f of x. Okay, so -1 gets plugged in there. -1 plus 1 gives me 0. 0 plus 1 gives me 1. 1 plus 1 gives me 2. 2 plus 1 gives me 3. Okay? Then I have to plot the points. So I'm going to put them on this graph. So I've got -1 comma 0, which is right here. Oh, no, I didn't want that to happen yet. So it's right here. 0, 1 is right here. 1, 2 is right here. And 2, 3 is right here. Okay? Now what happens if we connect the points? They actually make a line. Okay? And then it's asking, is your graph a relation? Well, it's a bunch of ordered pairs, so you bet it is. And is it a function? Well, if I drew my vertical line through it, I'm only going to hit 1 point for every vertical line. So yes, it is a function. Okay? Next example, given the range, find the domain of the function. So this is very similar to what we did before, except now they're giving us the y values, and we have to find the x. So instead of plugging in these numbers into what x equals, we're going to plug it into what f of x equals, because f of x is the same thing as my y. Okay, so again, I'm making the table. They gave me the y values, or the f of x values, -9, -8.5, -8, and -7. I'm trying to find the x values for the domain. Oh, okay. So I'm going to use this equation that they have. And I changed the 1/2 to 0.5 just because I can't write 1/2 in the computer. So I just wrote it as 0.5. You can just write it as a fraction, it's totally fine. Okay, this is the equation I'm going to use, so I'm plugging in all of these numbers in for y. So I've got -9 equals 0.5x minus 8. I'm going to add 8 to both sides, and then divide by 0.5 or multiply by 2, depending on how you have it looking. Either way, it's the same thing, and I get -2. Okay? And I'm doing that with each one. Add 8 to both sides, divide by 0.5 or multiply by 2, I get -1. Add 8 to both sides, multiply by 2 or divide by 0.5, I get 0. Add 8 to both sides, divide by 0.5 or multiply by 2, I get 2. Okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and fill in the chart, and that's my domain. That's my domain. -2, -1, 0, 2. Okay? If you want to take it a step further and actually write it out, that's totally cool. Okay? Now you have 2 that you have to try on. Okay? If you're doing it the same way, you might have to show work underneath it and do the middle part of the table that I did underneath it. Okay? And you're just going to go ahead and fill in the chart. When you come back, I'll have the answers. Okay? See you in a few. Alright, so let's look at A. For this one, you should have gotten your range, or your domain, to be 9, 7, -1, and -2. And if you're going to write that out as domain, it would be -2, -1, 7, and 9. Okay? And then for B, your domain is -4, -1, 1, and 0. And if you wrote that out as domain, it would be 0, 1, -1, and -4. Okay? Remember, if at any point you have a question, please write it down or star it or something so you can ask it when we come back to class. Okay? So that's really function notation. A lot of stuff with function notation. Next part is intercepts. Okay? There's two kind of intercepts. There's the x-intercept and the y-intercept. The x-intercept is the point, you can have multiple ones, where the function crosses the x-axis. Okay? And the y-intercept is the point or points where the function crosses the y-axis. Okay? So, if you look here, how are the x and y-intercepts written? Well, x-intercept is going to be some x value, comma 0. Okay, because on the x-axis, that's when the y is equal to 0. Okay, always going to be y equals 0. That's your x-intercept. Y, when we're crossing the y-axis, that's when the x is 0, so it's always going to be 0, comma y. Your y intercept. Okay? Some synonyms for the x-intercept. X-intercept is something very important to algebra and in algebra 2 when you study that class. It has multiple names. Okay, and we will use these multiple names throughout the entire year. You just need to know that it all means the same thing. Okay? So some synonyms for x-intercept are 0, solution, intercept. Another one that I just thought of is root, R-O-O-T. Those are all words that can be used interchangeably. Well, not usually. They'll have a purpose for them. But they all mean the same thing. They all mean, what's the x-intercept? When they ask you what's the 0, what's the solution, what's the intercept, what's the root, they just want to know what is the x-intercept. Okay? So, different content has a different word for it. That's why there's so many different words for it. Okay? So, just be aware that if you see any of these words, usually they're going to talk about the x-intercept. Okay? So, here's an example. Given the following graphs, what are the intercepts is the graph function. Alright, so here we have a graph. We need to know what the x-intercept is and the y-intercept. The x-intercept, we look at the x-axis. Where is this line crossing? Okay? Now, hopefully you didn't see this -8 and think, oh, the x-intercept is -8. No, it's not crossing the x-axis at -8. That's right here. Okay? It's actually crossing right here at -7. Okay, so our x-intercept is at -7, comma 0. Our y-intercept is crossing right here at the 6. Okay, so we write that 0, comma 6. Now, is this a function? Will it pass the vertical line test? Hopefully you guys recognize it, and yes, it is a function. Okay? Alright, try on your own here. So you have to determine what the intercepts are, and is the graph a function. Okay? Go ahead and take a few minutes. When you come back, I'll have the answers. Okay, so this one you had to find the x and y intercept. So the x-intercept would be 4, comma 0, and it has to be written like that, not 0, comma 4. That's wrong. X-intercepts always have a number first, followed by 0. The y-intercept is at 0, 2, and yes, it is a function. It'll pass the vertical line test. Alright, one more example. Given the following graph, what are the zeros? Is the graph function. So when they're asking what are the zeros, what are they asking for? Go back to your last page, it said it right there. A 0 is your x-intercept. So that's all they're looking for is the x-intercept. Where is it crossing the x-axis? And it's crossing it right here at the 5. So your 0 is 5, comma 0. This is the graph function. You try the vertical line test. It passes. Yes, it is. Alright, now this one I gave you the more difficult one to try on your own, because I am really nice to you. Zeros, there's an S on the end, okay? Which means maybe there's multiple ones, okay? Remember what a 0 is, and look at the whole graph, okay? Do this one on your own. When you come back, I'll have the answers. So hopefully you notice, when you were doing this on your own, that this one's crossing the x-axis at 2 different locations. And I want you, sorry, I didn't mention this beforehand. Go ahead and round to the nearest point, okay? So here, we've got, this one's crossing at -1, and this one's crossing at about 6. So we're going to round, okay? So my zeros are at -1, comma 0, and 6, and I drew the vertical line. It does pass it, okay? So that is a function. This is actually an example of a quadratic function, where the example before is a linear function. Okay? So that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoy your nice long weekend, and if you're my White Day kids, I hope you already enjoyed it. I will see you next class. Don't forget to study for your quiz on functions, relations, domain and range, and all that fun stuff. And I will see you next class. Alright? Bye!